Welcome to another edition of Fandom News Now, a Fandom Empire exclusive hosted by yours truly, Zach Arnold, and co-hosting with me again and back for another round of some really interesting news from the past week. It's the host of Fandom Empire Live, the founder of the channel, Sean Giroux, back for round 2, or is it 200 by this time now? Who knows? Good to have you aboard, man. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for allowing me to be here in your honorable presence.
Allowing me, honorable. I'm in pajama pants, sir. Nobody knows it until now because I just said it. Some of the stuff we got on tap tonight includes some brief Oscars. It's like the Dundies. It's the Oscars recap. We'll take a look at the Academy Award winners and also an Academy Awards snub that people are still talking about today. We'll also be touching on a lot of Star Wars stuff in a lot of different capacities, and even some pro sports, because it's my show and I can, damn it. Let's start with this Oscars recap, the headliner being one Mr. Anthony Hopkins winning the award for Best Actor over the late Chadwick Boseman. He apparently had a sweeping performance at just about every other awards show there was, Golden Globes, Screen Actors Guilds, you name it. And his performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was getting the awards all over the charts. And then somehow Hopkins swoops in, not somehow. From what I've heard, his role in The Father is very, very deservedly something worthy of an award. But it was just very surprising for a lot of people who thought that it would be a clean posthumous sweep. I cannot words tonight. I feel like I want to do a take 2. We're supposed to get a clean posthumous sweep for the Black Panther actor, and it did not happen. Although one of his co-stars in Black Panther, Daniel Kaluuya, won Best Supporting Actor for Judas and the Black Messiah. Best Actress went to Frances McDormand for her role in Nomadland. Best Picture went to said film, Nomadland. Best Animated Feature went to Disney Pixar's Soul, which also just happened to win Best Original Score as well. So a pretty interesting night if you're actually into the Academy Awards. I got all my information from Twitter, if I'm being totally honest, trying to watch the show and watch the acceptance speeches and all that. Probably not my cup of tea, but congratulations are still in order to all the winners. It's one of the biggest award ceremonies of the year. And from what I heard, there seem to have been some very deserving winners and a couple of surprises, which is just the kind of drama you need for an awards show like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are, it might sound harsh, but are looking for a story where there isn't one. And like, hey, Chadwick Boseman was fucking brilliant. I don't know if you've ever seen 42, Zach, but like, my God. At the end of the day, I think whether someone's still here with us or not, that shouldn't be the determining factor on someone getting an award.
No, I agree.
And it should go to the person who best performed. But I don't think it's unlike the Oscars to, do something controversial, because it's certainly happened before.
Well, and it's pretty much designed to generate conversation now, because people like you and I don't even watch the awards show. We just find out what happened on social media after the fact. I didn't really have time for it. I didn't really have the availability to sit down and watch an awards show. I barely have time to watch the TV shows that I'm trying to get caught up on. So in this modern era of media consumption, you kind of have to pick and choose what you're going to watch. And I think fewer and fewer people are choosing to watch the Oscars nowadays. Toronto Freddy said in the chat, I haven't watched the Oscars in years. You and I both. And so I can't help but wonder if maybe Hopkins's win was kind of designed to be a conversation boost to see what would happen. But I haven't seen either film, honestly. The only film out of all of this that I've seen, I saw Soul when it came out, and I watched Judas and the Black Messiah right before it left the HBO streaming platform. Didn't even go see it in theaters. both of them were good films, and Kulaya definitely deserves the award that he won. But I haven't seen The Father. I haven't seen Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I haven't seen Nomadland. There's just a lot out there that is, picking up awards, and I barely even heard about them, let alone seen them. So a very interesting year for Oscars and movies and awards, to say the least, because there probably hasn't been a whole lot in cinema, obviously, in the last year. So probably not as much to choose from. And that probably doesn't take away from the performances that were given, but I mean, there's probably not as much that was as convincing as Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker, that was as compelling as Parasite. It's tough to compare years like the one we've had compared to previous years with the Oscars.
I think that's extremely well said, man.
Well, that's all we're going to do covering the Oscars. We got a lot more stuff to talk about tonight. One of the biggest stories that's popped up within the last 48 hours is this notion that, yes, a Captain America sequel is in the works following the conclusion of the events in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But what's funny about it is that confirmation wasn't revealed to the stars before the announcement was made. Like, usually the core cast members and directors and producers, they'll find out that like well in advance. But according to an interview with Anthony Mackie, the man who plays Captain America now, he says he got that information from a supermarket clerk, which I just find hilarious. Can you imagine going to like your local supermarket and you're just going for some bread and some milk and some fruits and veggies, and you find out from the guy who is like weighing your oranges, telling you, hey, I heard what your next job's going to be. You're going to be doing this. Like, that would just be so jarring to me to find out from somebody who is checking me out in the supermarket.
That would be like borderline jaw-dropping, like complete disbelief, right? Like, how would you ever believe that?
It would be tough for me to believe, because I'd be like, how do you know and I don't know, sir? But it's just an interesting little anecdote about the virality of social media being able to get the word out before it can even reach the eyes and the ears of someone like Anthony Mackie. By the way, I'm just running on the assumption that you have seen The Falcon and Winter Soldier to its conclusion. How do you feel about this Captain America 4 being greenlit?
It makes sense, right? I mean, you're going to see so many movies getting greenlit because these studios need to make money and desperately after the couple of years we've had. But that part aside, I'm fine with it. You know, they exited, Downey Jr. and not Hemsworth, Evans from their saga, right? So, and in many forms of the comic books, and I don't know if it's happened in any of the cartoons, but you literally see the new Captain America. I think in some it's Bucky, and in others it's Sam. I'm fine with it. And to me, if you're doing Captain America, please make sure Bucky is in the movie. Those two, their chemistry is just. Sometimes you just don't know, and it's like, oh, hey, there's two cool actors on screen together. It's cool. I get to see them be in the same movie. But those two, when together, like, completely made that show. The chemistry was just so damn good.
I think that it got better over the course of the show. Like, the first couple episodes, it was a little icy and it was a little tough to tell. But by the time you got to the finale, everybody was comfortable with their identity. They were comfortable with the role that they played, and they embraced it, and they made the most of it. And it led to a pretty interesting and still talked about finish. I've got a lot of friends on Facebook that are still kind of in arms about who the power broker is, and maybe on another episode of Something Somewhere down the line, we'll get to discuss that in greater detail. But it's led to a lot of conversation, and it seems to be leading to sequels. You know, there are people that have been talking about that maybe a season 2 could be in the works, but I think like you said, a Captain America 4 was the logical choice and seems to be fairly inevitable, as someone in the chat said. That's a great tie-in there to a Endgame.
People think I'm nuts for saying this, but I still don't think Iron Man 4 is impossible. I think it is way more likely that Robert Downey Jr. somehow gets shoehorned back all into this than he doesn't. I really do believe that multiverse or some sort of like weird thing that allows him to come back. I don't think we've seen the last of him. And I don't just mean for a cameo either.
So one thing that the Star Trek universe is doing is they're making the most of their animation. Like Star Trek Lower Decks had a cameo by a couple of characters from the Next Generation. Obviously, they didn't have to do anything other than record their voices. I could see him becoming like an AI voice, like Jarvis did for a while, or I could see him being like a hologram AI, so that he can interact with people without having to like physically be in their presence or anything like that. So I think you're right. I think there's possibilities. I think there's definitely ways you can bring him back. It would just be a matter of how and would it make sense. But
Sure.
I think it's doable. Yeah. We do have some more Marvel stuff to talk about in just a little bit, and it does relate to the Iron Man series. But first, we want to take a look at this cast that has been officially released for the House of the Dragon. They've got their own Instagram profile now. They were posting photos from the table read, kind of reminding everybody who is who and, what to expect to a certain degree. It was like a way of teasing this new show that is just about to start filming, if it hasn't already started. And by the timelines that we've seen from Game of Thrones recordings in the past, I think this means we could be looking at something by the fall of next year. Is that a fair assumption? If not before?
Well, I mean, they flat out said that I believe the tweet was House of the Dragon coming to HBO Max in 2022. So my guess, it'd have to be the back half, man. Because like they literally just...
They have to shoot and reshoot. I don't think they've even shot the pilot yet.
No, like it was literally just the first day of filming the other day. They caught the Matt Smith pick. I think they released a video of the table read as well. And this is what I've been waiting to talk to you about. I don't know about you, but I've been thinking about Game of Thrones a lot lately. I have not started a rewatch yet, but I've been itching to for months. And eventually I will, but you start seeing the House of the Dragon stuff, and we've gotten so much Game of Thrones news lately, and then even the animated thing that they're going to do. But once we've seen the video of the table read, and then actual on-set photos of Matt Smith, and I can't remember the actress's name, but like immediately, dude, my like Game of Thrones juices was just like, oh my God, we're going back to Westeros. Fucking right. I can't wait. Was there any of that stewing up in the pit of your belly?
To an extent, yeah. But I think after we got the announcement for the animated feature and, some of the other adventures that they're trying to order pilots for, I think that's when it really kind of kicked into high gear for me personally, was around that time. But just in general, the notion of going back to this fictional world that, we've spent at least 2 separate podcasts on, possibly 3. Like, we've devoted a ton of time to talking about this series in many different formats. And I'm looking forward to finding some way of bringing that back, man, because the people that they've announced, obviously Matt Smith is the biggest name, but like the people that they're casting for this, it looks very Game of Thrones in nature. They all look like those classic trained actors like Charles Dance was, like what we got from Peter Dinklage. Like everybody that we had on the Game of Thrones cast was awesome, and this one's looking awesome. I mean, some of these names I don't recognize, but if you look at their faces, you're like, oh yeah, I could see them in Westeros. Eve Best as Princess Rhaenys, Patty Considine as Viserys, Olivia Cook as Alicent Hightower, Rhys Ifans as Otto Hightower, Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra, Fabian Frankel as Kriston Cole, and then obviously Matt Smith as Prince Daemon. Like there are so many, so much potential to all of this, and so many names on here that it's hard to look at just one and be like, that's the one I'm most excited for. Obviously, I'm going to have a little bias being a Game of Thrones fan. I'm looking forward to seeing what Matt Smith can do in the Game of Thrones universe, but I'm just excited for this series in general.
I can't wait, man. I hope we get it as early as possible. At the same time, I don't want them to rush it. It's not like they're working with the budget that they had on Game of Thrones for season 1. It's way bigger than that. The stuff that I get confused about, though, dude, is I heard for the longest time that this story would heavily feature dragons, that there'd be dragons involved. But if this story is taking place 200 years before Game of Thrones, didn't they say during Game of Thrones that it's been 300 years since they'd seen like big dragons?
Is this show 200 years? I thought I saw a synopsis that said 300 years.
I thought it was 200, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm even so though. Like I'm thinking the show might end up being more grounded than I originally thought. And I'm not sure how a lot of people are going to feel about that. I mean, when you name a show House of the Dragon, you better get some dragon stuff in there too.
Dragons in there. Yeah, no. I keep waiting for like a sexual innuendo to pop up and be like, are you into dragons? Because just like Game of Thrones, I'm going to be dragging my balls across your face.
Oh, man.
But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, the Targaryens are known for their incestuous relationships. So it'll be interesting to see how this show tries to tackle that. I think there will be some dragons involved in some capacity, but the curious thing will be to see if there's some sort of weapon or if there's some sort of, some kind of antigen or, fire defeating fire. Something's going to have to give in order to defeat these dragons. Like if they are there, then they're not going to be like staying. So what gets rid of them? How do they address that? This show definitely has a lot of potential.
I'm literally so stoked, and the idea of being able to watch multiple Game of Thrones shows at once seems very real now.
Based on the reception and based on the PR that has been coming out for them, definitely seems possible. Something else that I'm very, very excited for personally, but I know a lot of other people are as well, the upcoming Kenobi series. And I know that we talked about this off the air, but this interview that Ewan McGregor does with The Hollywood Reporter is fascinating from start to finish. Like, I don't know if we can get the link and put it in the chat maybe, but some of the things that they discuss with him in this interview are like really, really fantastic. He was talking about how he got the COVID vaccine and how it knocked him down and knocked him out for a few days. And during that time, he got to kind of reflect on his work on the prequel trilogy and what its reception was. And he even acknowledges in this article, he says it was hard. They didn't get well received. That was quite difficult. They were universally not very much liked. And that just kind of makes me sad that looking back on his career, that's one of his memories of it. But then he also takes a moment to kind of look forward, and he's like, yeah, I'm 50. I am in the prime of my life, and I'm excited for what's going to happen next, which is really, really cool. And I went and found the link and copied it for you guys in the chat. I know I'm not an admin, but you can still see the link there in the chat there. It's so interesting looking at his thoughts on the Mandalorian, looking at his thoughts on Star Wars, looking at some of the stuff that he wants to do moving forward. Sean, was there anything from this article that really stood out to you the most? Because I'm still scrolling through it and finding stuff that I hadn't read about earlier.
I mean, the dude is as gifted as they come. I love him. Obviously, completely biased for him, since I love his take on Kenobi. I remember, doubting him being cast in Doctor Sleep, and boy, was I wrong. He knocked that one out of the park. And then with this article, like, there's so much to pick apart here. The other series that he's doing, the battle with the side effects from the vaccine. But like, for me, it all comes back to Kenobi, man. That, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite Star Wars character ever. And we know that there's supposed to be this big rematch with Darth Vader. That's what they sold the series on. Hopefully not just some stupid dream vision, because that would be very misleading. But, like, how can you not be excited about reading that? Yeah, no, we've been practicing for 2.5 hours a day for a couple of months now. That, to me, that really, really excites me. That's obviously probably more than just one fight, too, across the 6 episodes. But still, that excites me.
I'm looking at one of the photos that they attached in the article. I didn't even realize that he got a role in Fargo. Like, one of the photos that they attached,
plays 2 roles.
Is him in Fargo, and he doesn't even look like himself. He doesn't even look like Ewan McGregor. Like, his chameleon-like nature is just fantastic, and I'm hoping that they utilize that in some capacity in Kenobi. Make him not quite look like Obi-Wan, but also still seem very reminiscent of Obi-Wan at the same time. I know that that's a weird balance to strike, but I feel like with
he should seem run down.
Yeah, with his versatility and the fact that he's supposed to be, like, bridging the gap between how he looks in episode 3 and how Alec Guinness looks in episode 4, like, there's a lot of potential for how that could come about. And I'm hopeful that with 6 episodes in the series, they're able to delve into that at least a little bit. So yeah, check out that article from The Hollywood Reporter. It is fantastic. Definitely worth the read, and one that was an exclusive interview that we felt worth mentioning. There's a lot of pull quotes that people are using on social media right now where we just don't have the time to pull them ourselves, but definitely worth taking a look at. Now, his counterpart on the live screen is Hayden Christensen. On the animated side of things, voice actor Matt Lanter has actually confirmed that we're going to be seeing Anakin return in some capacity. Again, probably not much of a surprise considering shows like The Bad Batch are on the horizon, and according to Lanter, there's actually more animation projects and possibly something like a game for Lucasfilm or LucasArts in the works. So probably not as surprising, since that seems to be like a particular focus that they have on this part of the universe right now, but still nice to get confirmation that Lanter's role as Anakin has not quite come to a conclusion yet.
Yeah, I always liked him as Anakin. I'm also high on Hayden Christensen as Anakin, though, from Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
But Lanter really did make it his own, and there are people that know him more for the role than Hayden. So I'm glad it hasn't come to an end either, and I imagine there will be other opportunities for him to continue in the future as well, even if they're small ones.
We can hope, and we can see. I feel like there's going to be a lot of cameos that get made in this new series, The Bad Batch, so maybe that'll be one of the first appearances that we get from him is on that. Talking about The Bad Batch, this is probably one of the last pieces of Star Wars content that we're going to be talking about tonight, I promise. But with May the 4th right around the corner happening next week, that 75-minute pilot has a title, and it's called Aftermath, which isn't confusing at all, considering there's also a book series by that name. But The episode has been called Aftermath, and in a screen grab with the mini synopsis taken from Disney Plus, it says the clones of the Bad Batch find themselves in a changing galaxy after the Clone Wars. Obviously, it's left vague on purpose in order to try and give some ambiguity, but the second episode has people talking quite a bit more because its title is Cut and Run. Now, if you hearken back to season 1 of the Clone Wars, there is a clone deserter who changes his name to Cut LaQuaine. And people are implying here that this cut that's mentioned in the title of Cut and Run is the old contact that gets alluded to in the synopsis. It simply says the Bad Batch visit an old contact. So there's a lot of putting the pieces of the puzzle together that suggests that after the 75-minute pilot, one of the first adventures the Bad Batch goes on is to visit their old contact, Cut LaQuaine.
I think that I don't know. I was sort of mixed with how I felt about the Bad Batch, man, and I love Clone Wars, and I just sort of felt like, do we need more in this space? And I certainly didn't ask for a show for them, but I do know I'm not its target audience. But there are 6, 7, 10, 12-year-olds, and
27.
people just love the Clone Wars that want to follow this too. But the more I've seen of it, the more I've been thoroughly interested in what this show is about and where this show could go. And yes, who could pop up in this show. I hope it's not this type of show that's going to go 5 or 7 seasons. I hope it's short. I hope it's, one and done or two. I don't think you need another long Star Wars storytelling period that close. But so far I've been really excited about what they've shown. Specifically because, you're dealing with the aftermath of Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
And, I love Revenge of the Sith. So from that aspect alone, I'm intrigued.
Did you ever read the now Legends novel, The Rise of Darth Vader?
Yep. Sure did.
One of my favorite books.
It's fantastic.
One of my favorites, examining the aftermath of the Clone Wars from the perspective of some people that escaped Order 66. And I feel like the Bad Batch are going to encounter a Jedi that escaped Order 66. I don't think it'll be Ahsoka. I think that's a little too on the nose, but I think there will be a Jedi that escaped Order 66, and the Bad Batch are going to have to make a decision about whether they want to do something about it or not.
No, for sure. I think that scenario is extremely likely, and I'm really intrigued at what this show could do, just with the space and time it's provided. Again, though, I don't want it to drag on, 5, 6, 7 seasons.
I don't expect there's enough in there to warrant 5 to 7 seasons.
Fun little fact here, though. That book you were talking about, that was the first Star Wars book that I had my oldest son, Zachary, read, because he loves Revenge of the Sith. Okay. And we're like, here, this is in Legends now, anyways. This is what happens after Revenge of the Sith. And he loved it, and then he wanted to start reading more novels. So
everybody remembers their first Star Wars novel. For a lot of people, it was the Thrawn trilogy. For me, it was, it was the Legacy of the Force series.
Mm-hmm.
And I picked up right in the middle of it. Like, it was just on an end cap at Walmart, and I was like, wait a second, there's Star Wars books
if
too?
if it was the middle, then it was either the one with Han and Leia or the one with Mara Jade on it, Sacrifice, which is just my God, one of the best Star Wars books ever written.
I don't think it was Sacrifice. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was the one with Jason's lover who only had one arm.
Tenel Ka. So it was book 3. Book 3.
What's it called? What was it called?
I know it's the third book in that series. Tempest, maybe? Tempest
sounds right.
So, man, Star Wars geeking out here.
Tempest. Yep, that was it.
Nice.
And now it's available on Amazon.com for $7.99. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, Tempest was my first Star Wars book, and then I went back and read through everything in that series. And then right around that time, it was time for the Fate of the Jedi franchise that came right after that. Oh man, I read so many books. It was I think Invincible. Is that the one with Jason and Jaina on the cover?
Yep. The N one, they're in their fight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I read that book in under 48 hours.
I basically, it wasn't 48 hours. It was across 4 or 5 days, but I read that book, and I listened to the audiobooks for most of that series, but that I had an actual physical copy for. And when my oldest son, Zachary, was born, we had to wait in the hospital for a while. So some of the time I used killing was reading that book. And such a good book, and such a good fan film of that book on the internet. So,
well, you'll have to send that to me. I need to watch that. Moving on. Kessel Run Transmissions actually picked up a possible title for the third episode that's due on May 14th. It's supposed to be 28 minutes in length, although probably about 5 of that's going to go towards the Disney Plus credits that happen. So it probably won't be entirely 28 minutes in duration. But it's an episode titled Replacements, and the mini synopsis says the Bad Batch gets stuck on a desolate moon. So we'll get these first 2 on May the 4th, and then we'll have to wait 10 days, May 14th, before episode 3 releases, and it's believed to be titled Replacements. Coming back to the Marvel Universe very briefly, we were talking about Tony Stark and his influence in the MCU and Robert Downey Jr.'s potential appearances. I would say if there was ever a potential for him to make an appearance / cameo, it would be in the Ironheart show that's coming to Disney Plus. And we got confirmation yesterday that it is slated to have 6 episodes, much like The Falcon and Winter Soldier. And the writer's room starts meeting in May, led by lead writer Chinaka Hodge. Didn't get an opportunity to see some of Hodge's other work, but I imagine that they have had some influence in some of the fantasy realms to warrant working on a project like Ironheart. But it's interesting that it's basically going to be broken up the same way that The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was. I feel like the timing and the pacing of that show worked well enough that 6 episodes could be warranted for other franchises, and that seems to be the indication of what we're getting here for Ironheart, which starts writing next month.
I'm very intrigued with what they do there. I mean, I'm riding a high at the moment, and just because, like, Falcon, or I'll call it that, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
When it was
great.
The final title card was going to be Captain America and the White Wolf. I heard somebody say that. I forget who. I think one of the producers said that one of their suggested endings was Captain America and the White Wolf, because they want to drop the Winter Soldier moniker from Bucky Barnes' name. So you're going to hear White Wolf quite a bit more often as the series progresses.
Nice.
Okay, 2 more pieces of news, and then we're going to call it a night. If you have any questions that you want to send to us, go ahead and put them in the chat now. Better to send it as a super chat just to make sure that we don't forget it. But go ahead and start sending that in, and we'll get to that Q&A segment in just a moment. According to THR, there is a new MonsterVerse film in development right on the curtails of the success of Godzilla vs. Kong. And Adam Wingate, who directed this most recent film, is in talks to direct this sequel. The possible working title has been reported to be Son of Kong. I don't entirely know how that works, because I thought Kong was the last of his kind. Maybe they try and clone him or something like that. But we've gotten a couple of Godzilla films. We've gotten the Godzilla vs. Kong film. And now it seems like we're going to be getting something going back to everybody's favorite ape. And Wingate is in talks to direct this Son of Kong film. Did you get a chance to see Godzilla vs. Kong, Sean?
I have not yet, no.
Oh, man. Yeah, I keep getting notifications about how it's leaving HBO Max in a couple of days, and I keep wondering how much longer the duration is in theaters, because I keep meaning to take the girlfriend to go see it, and I haven't yet. But even one Mr. Ben Hart has seen it, which really surprised me. This didn't strike me as what my IPC co-host's genre would be, but for his birthday, he went and saw that film. So you may end up hearing a discussion about that on the IPC podcast in the not too distant future. But little shameless plug for my show there. Go check that out, IPC podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. When I'm not doing this, I'm trying to be on that show, but sometimes baseball gets in the way. I'm doing a lot, okay? Shut up. Just really quickly, because it's my show and because I like sports, we're going to go to one of the other pieces of quote-unquote news that has come up. Tonight is draft night for the National Football League, and I'm just going to be listing off who the top 10 picks were in the draft. It's interesting that there were 3 consecutive quarterbacks chosen. It's very rare that happens and that many teams need a quarterback, but that seems to have been kind of the trend. And then there were some other interesting choices that happened here in the top 10 as well. Trevor Lawrence from Clemson went number 1 overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think anybody had any surprises there. But Zach Wilson from BYU went number 2 to the Jets. And so that seems to be the new quarterback that they're building their foundation on. And Trey Lance from North Dakota State, another quarterback, went to the San Francisco 49ers. Although there are some rumblings that he may get traded to Green Bay. I hope to God those are not true rumors. At number 4, Kyle Pitts from Florida went to the Falcons. Jamar Chase, a wide receiver who sat out this season, but went to LSU, was picked number 5 overall by the Bengals. He'll be joining his LSU quarterback over there. So Joe Burrow has another target that he can aim for. Jalen Waddle from Alabama was picked number 6 overall by the Dolphins, so he'll be joining Tua Tagovailoa, his Alabama counterpart over there in Miami. Penei Sewell, an offensive tackle from Oregon, projected as a top 10 pick, picked as a top 10 pick, went number 7 to the Lions. J.C. Horn, a corner from South Carolina, the first defensive player picked, went to the Panthers at number 8 overall. Patrick Surtain II went to the Broncos, a pick out of Alabama. And one more Alabama pick, Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, went number 10 overall to the Eagles, who traded up for him from the number 12 spot, trading with their divisional rival, the Dallas Cowboys. So there you have it, your top 10 picks of the draft. Not very many surprises there, but some interesting pairings with Waddle joining Tagovailoa over in Miami, Chase joining Burrow over with from the Bayou Bengals to the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Eagles trading up to get the former Heisman Trophy winner to round out the top 10.
Not a big draft guy. I don't follow NFL on the level that I follow the NHL or the MLB. That said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers going forward, because I just read that the last report was a few teams called Green Bay, and they did not engage in any talks. They have no interest in trading him, and Aaron Rodgers' stance is he has no interest in ever playing for them again. So that spells a recipe for disaster.
From what I've heard, the front office tried to speak with him again today, right before draft night. So it'll be interesting to see if the conversations lead to anything substantial going into the draft. Are they going to try and get some targets for him at wide receiver? Are they going to try and put him on the auction block and get somebody that was a high top 10 draft pick in addition to other draft picks? Who knows? But we'll see what happens. Frank Reicher says that he's got to go. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you, Frank. We're about to close things down ourselves. Anything from the previous show that people might have missed or that needs reiterating from the horror genre tonight, Sean?
No, not really. Nothing on the docket other than stay tuned. We've got a bunch of Halloween kill stuff we'll be covering over the next couple of months and leading into October. And tonight we just laid out what's sort of happening at Fandom Empire over the next several months, and we told them about a new show that's going to debut May 14th, but that show is currently unannounced. But that we're going to have the hosts of that show, which is not myself, on this Tuesday. So Fun stuff coming up at Fandom Empire, and I think people will really, really enjoy what those guys have to offer.
Well, and I have heard rumors that there will be a press release happening on May the 1st as well. So tune in to your social media platforms for that official announcement on Saturday, May the 1st. And then, the follow-up will be on the 4th, that Tuesday. And we'll have a lot of fun stuff moving forward. We do have a couple of questions in the chat I'm going to try and get to really, really quick. Let me see. I think Kenny sent us a question about Supergirl, which I haven't really watched since season 2. But he says that the leading lady, Melissa Benoist, is done after season 6. Do you think there's a chance she could return in the role for a smaller cameo, maybe in Superman and Lois? By my understanding, Superman and Lois is completely separate from everything else that the CW has been trying to do. So if she says she's done, then I'm going to take her at her word and say that she's done. I personally was not a super fan of what they were doing in the Supergirl franchise anyway. The biggest thing for me was Martian Manhunter, and then you get Martian Manhunter in the Snyder Cut, and I was like, okay, well, I don't really need John Jones in Supergirl anymore anyways. So if she says she's done, then I think she's done, man, in my opinion.
I hope so, to be honest. Like, I didn't like what they did with Supergirl. Couldn't get into it. I understand it has a following, though. I also understand the number one reason people really like Superman and Lois, and I haven't seen it yet still, is that it's separate from everything else and it's its own thing.
Yeah, and if it's going to keep that, if it's going to preserve that, then it needs to stay as such. Kenny's follow-up question, favorite baseball movie? We were talking about 42, and he lists that, Major League, and Field of Dreams as his top baseball movies. If we're going to do top 3, I think top 3 is a lot easier to do than just very, very best or favorite. I'm personal to Rookie of the Year, the kid that just ends up throwing a fastball because of some injury and ends up making it to the Cubbies. I really liked that one. I really like The Rookie because the movie finishes in my hometown of Arlington. The guy makes his first pitching appearance against the Rangers. So I thought it was a really cool story. And then, 42, just a phenomenal film. There's so many great baseball movies, though. I mean, Field of Dreams, what was it? God, I can't remember it. I don't even think I have The Sandlot in my top 5. Like, there's just so many great baseball films that The Sandlot would probably end up in, like, the top 10, but not even in the top 5.
The Sandlot's definitely in my top 5. So is the Babe Ruth one with John Goodman. But, man, I loved Moneyball, man. I loved sports management and everything that goes on there. And Moneyball was just so invigorating for me.
Those are all great. We're probably just going to need to do like a sports movie or a baseball movie night or something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Solid Saturn, Zach, who's better, Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees? I feel like I'll get kicked off of the channel if I don't say Michael. Don't lose my job. So to get some political points here, Saturn, I'm going to say Michael, but I also just haven't seen a whole lot from Jason's side of things. If I'm being honest, slashers, the only like true slashers that I've enjoyed, I really enjoyed Halloween 2018. And then I really like it when the Velociraptors slash people in Jurassic Park. So if that counts as a slasher, then yeah, I love slasher films. But yeah, I think Michael would probably get the nod just because I've seen more of his work.
Makes sense.
All right. Sean, I think we're running out of time, dude, but thanks for being on the show. Thanks for gutting it out with me. I know that this went a little bit longer than it was supposed to, but this was a good one.
Very much so. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. And sorry, I keep looking over at my door. It sounds like someone was trying to get in.
After just talking about a couple of slashers, you're watching the door.
Right? Somebody call my dog.
Well, folks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and be on the lookout for announcements, especially the one that's on Saturday, May the 1st. go find us on all of the social medias. Subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and everything else. We've got Star Wars, we got Rick and Morty, we got Supernatural, we got Game of Thrones, we've got an unnamed program that's about to join the ranks. There's just a lot going on here on Fandom Empire, and you don't want to miss any of it. And if you want to keep up with what I'm doing outside of this program, go find me at Zach the Voice on all the major platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitch, TikTok, Venmo. Seriously, send me a tip. Venmo. Go find me at Zach the Voice, and we'll find you on next week's episode. But for now, for Sean, I'm Zach, and that's been Fandom News to us.